G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Nicole Laino from Nicole Laino, based in beautiful Austin, Texas. Thanks for your time today, Nicole.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And let's start with how we know each other. So Interview Connections reached out, thought you might be a good guest to come on the cast.
Yes, they did. And I'm grateful for that. Yeah, they were my booking agent. They're wonderful.
Yeah. And you've got your own podcast as well?
I do. It's called The Limitless Entrepreneur.
Yep. Great. And how long have you been, out of interest, how long has that been going? And is it a weekly cast?
It's a weekly cast. It's fairly new. We just kicked off in October of last year. Mm-hmm. So it's a pandemic baby.
Yeah. Great. Well, tell our audience a bit about your business and your background and what you're focusing on now.
Sure. So I have one of those funny backgrounds that I always say that it's kind of the windy road that brings you right to where you belong. So I'm both a creative and I'm a type A hippie.
Yep.
I have a background. My background. Not at all. No, not in my world. Not in my world. And really where it comes from is just that I have a very creative side and an analytical, data-driven, very organized side. And I think that that's actually very common. And why I bring that up and why I embrace it is because so many of us try to, well, in business, I need to be a certain way. And I was an actor. That was my training when I was younger. And then I ran out of money because actors do that sort of thing. And you have to go and find something else to do. And I did temp work. I got a corporate job. And I worked at a Fortune 100 Wall Street bank. Wow. And I did that for a number of years. And that's what I mean about type A hippie. So my heart was in acting, but I have really great analytical and organizational skills. Got this job on Wall Street, burnt out there because that, particularly after the credit crisis of 2008, it did not become the most pleasant place to work. Yep. A lot of stress got to people, and just the culture changed a lot on the inside. And I burnt out on that and went back to acting to sort of try to figure things out. I really just left New York, went to California, moved out to LA to figure out what the next move was. Yep. As I said, it was a pivot, but a pivot to I didn't know what. Yeah. And through that time, I saw this hole in the market for entrepreneurs, and it was the CRM space. I didn't really feel like they were being served. I felt like it was being really delivered to all the bigwigs were delivering to bigger businesses, not to the small business owner. And so I developed a CRM, and I developed a light marketing tool to try to make it affordable for people who were starting out. And I bootstrapped that company and built it out. It is still live to this day. It's called Hilo CRM. And then through that process, I found my love for coaching. I started to work with entrepreneurs. I started to work with small business owners and just sharing my experience with them. And that kind of just developed organically, where I started talking with people, sharing my experience, sharing my expertise, not with the intent of getting paid for it at all in the beginning, and found that I just had a gift for it. And it was what I really, really loved. And I feel like it's where I shine. I feel like it's truly my zone of genius. So that's what I do now.
Yeah, fantastic. And what year did you start the CRM up?
2015.
Yep, great. And do you have a specific niche that focuses on in the small business space?
It started out as in the network marketing space, and then started to morph into we worked a lot with a lot of real estate companies, real estate agents, real estate brokerages, because it is anybody that had a very belly to belly focus that was really, going out and kind of pounding the pavement for their customers, not going the big automation route, not going with, big advertising dollars necessarily, driving their traffic, that they were really going out and building relationships with people. So we did have a large real estate agent who kind of went through that market.
Yep, great. And so 2015, so how old were you when you decided to make the jump into running your own business?
How old was I in 2015?
Yeah.
I guess, well, we're talking, I got to do the math.
6 years ago.
35.
Yep, great. And do you have some key numbers that illustrate the growth of the CRM business? Number of full-time equivalent team members or growth of customers percentage-wise?
Well, we grew the first 3 years. We were growing consistently around. The first year was a slow year.
Yeah, they always are,
as it is. And then the second year, we saw about 30% growth, and we were growing month over month. We were seeing some consistent growth and retention, and our churn rate was fairly low, right, which I felt was a real testament to what we were doing. As far as dollar amount, our revenue, we're a 6-figure business. We did not go the investment route. We did speak with some angel investors, but truly did not feel like that was the right way to go. And with me switching to my coaching, to the coaching realm, it didn't feel like I had the focus to put on that and really go after, basically raising funds and pitching.
And what about full-time equivalent team members now? Like, how many people in that business doing 40
hours? We have 4 right now, 4, and then me.
Yep. Great. So, I mean, that's a pretty good, when you were pivoting again into the coaching, good decision to make, not to put that pressure on yourself to bring in angel investment. Maybe talk a bit about that time that you kind of discovered your passion and talent for the coaching, because that's if you had made that decision to also take on that investment, that's a lot of pressure.
It felt like, well, it's very much a relationship, and it's an important one. And when you go in, when I was talking with investors and when we were discussing numbers and time, I didn't really think that we found a good fit. I did think that we found one, and I have to say that it fell through, and it felt more like a sign when it fell through. After that, in hindsight, I look at it and I'm like, I'm glad. At the time, I was not.
Yeah.
At the time, I really thought that was going to work out, and it felt right. But it was something that, as I started to get more into the coaching, it forced me to look at it and say that, and follow my heart and really say that this is what I want to do. I do feel like it is my zone of genius, and I don't feel like necessarily running the CRM was.
Yep. And so what year was that pivot to coaching?
The pivot to coaching was 2018.
Yep.
So, right around the time where, our growth there we've held it steady, but we haven't gone for the shooting for the stars as so much there.
And before COVID, was much of your coaching in person, or
No, I was fully online. I've always been. Even the CRM, everything that I did was online. So while I did have people who were local that I would see, that was more of like a icing on the cake than the way that we did business.
Yeah, great. When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
I guess, I have to say that first year in business, when we saw a 30% rise, but it was also, I guess I have them constantly. There's always, and then we're not satisfied, and then we want to go for the next level. That's right. And we want to go for the next level. But for my coaching business, it was that 6-figure run. It was, the large launches and being able to do that on a consistent basis. For the small business, for the CRM, it was probably when I don't know if there's one particular moment.
Mm-hmm. What does success look like to you?
I mean, for me, success is very much living my purpose. It's very much, when I'm living in the flow, and when it feels like, when everything is just working and it doesn't feel like work.
Yes.
Which I have more of those days now than I ever did. I know that the vision is just on its way.
I can't remember who said it, but I love that saying: you choose a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. It's so true.
It's completely true. And I think if you haven't experienced it, maybe you don't really understand exactly how true it is.
Yep.
But it really does take all the work out of it.
And number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Marketing a fast growing business, be ahead of the curve, look for trends and get in on them early. Leveraging other people. Don't try to do marketing on your own.
Yep.
Hire a good team, have a strategy for it, and implement.
And funding's been all self-funded, no investment, no government grants or business loans, bank loans?
No, we bootstrapped the entire thing ourselves and became profitable after that second year.
Yeah, great. And if you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry? I guess there's two questions there: the CRM or it sounds like you definitely would on the coaching. So,
The CRM, I think that one of the toughest things to do when you are in the startup world is recognizing when it's time to pivot.
Yes.
If I had funding, there were a lot of things that I would have done if I had funding. And when it fell through, I think that was when the dream sort of crumbled, when the funding kept falling through and not quite seeing its way through. It was like, I don't know if I want to do it this way anymore. And if I don't have the dollars behind the dream, then I don't know if I want to fight for it anymore.
Yep.
If I had the funding, I would. I think I'd be a slight step over from it. I think I would have gone, because we were a little bit ahead of the curve with these marketing companies. I think I would have gone not necessarily for the lower end niche that I went for. I think I would have taken a step higher. Just price point wise. And I would have gone full marketing program with AI technology.
Yep.
And, so would it be the same industry? I think it would be a close sidestep from where I was. I would go a step up we were going for a low end market. I think I would have hit the middle more.
Yep. And can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, when you have it all on the line yourself, like when you're bootstrapping it, I definitely, that was an incredibly stressful time. You don't know if it's going to work. It's completely based on faith. And you put literally all of your chips down on the table and you go for it.
Yep.
And, that was making decisions. And I will say that, like, I'll talk about this also from the perspective of a mistake as well, what made it more stressful. I run a technology company, and one thing that I will say that and I coach a lot of entrepreneurs on mindset right now, and this is something that I really look out for when I'm working with one of my clients, is making moves not based on your own roadmap, making moves not based on what you believe is right, but on your need to please others and to please the user and to please the customer so much. While the customer's opinion and what they want is important, you have to make not emotional decisions about the roadmap and the way forward for your business. So in technology, you build. Yeah. And so I built things out of what I was trying to please them and trying to give them what they wanted, rather than really saying, what is the best thing for the growth of this company looking forward? I built too much.
Right. Yep.
Which ate up funding, which ultimately ate up the forward-looking growth for the company. I wasn't able to do a lot of things that I think that I could have done if I had made some better choices. So It was very stressful, just because you realize later on that you reacted and it was a decision that you shouldn't have necessarily made. And it was costly. And you wish that you could do it over again. So that was like the end, about the end of the first year of the business. I think that became a much more expensive year.
Yeah.
Made it a whole lot more stressful when it's your money.
Well, with the coaching, that's good because you can point to that experience when you're trying to get your point across, particularly on mindset, to get people to think and act less emotionally about not just their business, but some of the key decisions in that business. So you can say, I've been down that road, I've made that mistake. Here's the risk if you continue down that path or thinking that way. I think that's really powerful as a coach to be able to point to your own experience.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see it when you're on the outside looking in, and I can spot that a mile away from my clients when they're making a decision or when they're looking at something that's being presented to them, to just not come at it from an emotional place and to come at it from a detached place and looking at it from, at its merits.
It's very hard because, your business is, another baby, basically.
It is, and you have a vision for it. And especially when it comes to growth, all growth isn't necessarily the right growth.
That's right.
Just because a next step, just because it gets bigger does not mean it is getting better. It doesn't mean that it's the right move. It doesn't mean it's the right move now. And so we can get very excited about things, or we can get reactive and make a choice out of need and not out of really, having a forward-looking vision for it.
Yep. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I mean, obviously I value mindset kind of over everything, but I would say it's a personal development journey. I think being an entrepreneur of any sort, the growth that you seek lies within you, and it's about unlocking those different levels in yourself.
Yep.
So that you can see problems differently, that you can become more detached. You can become very attached to your vision and very detached from the moment. So that has been the biggest part of my growth.
And what have you enjoyed least about managing fast growth?
I mean, it's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of what do I like least about managing fast growth? I mean, fast growth is kind of fun when it's happening. It's stressful because then you think you got to do it again. How do I do it again? How do I keep it? First it's how do I get it? Then it's, oh no, now I'm here. How do I keep it?
And what do you love most about growing a small business?
I love the endless possibility of it. I love the creativity that comes with it. I love, really putting together a vision and putting together a team and seeing everybody shine and seeing people step into, being able, and I think that is another lesson. In the beginning, I did everything myself. And then other than the coding,
yep.
Being able to delegate to the level of letting go and letting people own their role and letting people really step into it and have ownership over it, you get to see people really shine and grow themselves. I think that that's a really fun part about growing a small business.
Yeah, I agree. Perfect question for you. What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
You can't do it all yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That in fact, you doing it yourself, you're not only, you feeling like you need to do it yourself is the biggest form of playing small that there is. It's actually a very hidden way of staying right where you are.
Yep.
And so that being able to trust a team fully,
yep,
is a really big step.
It is hard, isn't it, when you're starting out, letting go, delegating. A lot of us, have control issues as entrepreneurs and business owners, but if you want to grow and succeed, you've got to master that.
And there's that feeling like, oh, well, I don't have time to show you. I don't have time to do this. So putting processes in place and other things where you've made the role easily you can hand it off, you can split it, you can change it, that things are documented. That's just a great exercise in organizing your mind and organizing your business.
Yeah.
And being able to let go, so you can actually take a vacation, so you can actually go and have a life, because otherwise you become very married to the business, which, we all are.
Yes.
But you have to be able to step away.
Yeah. What's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I mean, a habit. I'm a very big believer in a morning routine and centering yourself, and before you're ready to serve others, that you ground yourself. I Getting out in nature and clearing your mind and coming back and breaking out your tasks into what needs to be done right now. Are there similar tasks that can be done together?
Yep.
What can I delegate? So.
Do you love talking small business growth with other owners? We have a vibrant online community from many industries around the world. Plus, we regularly add new tools and resources for community members and host 2 webinars a month to help you grow your small business. growsmallbusiness.com.
And can you talk to how you've added people to the teams and wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yeah. So adding people to the team. One, I'll say that I'm a very gut hirer. And, when I trust my gut, they're good decisions. They've been good hires. Like the resume matters. Can they do the job? Of course, matters. And making sure that you understand the job well enough to know to ask the right questions, or make sure that somebody on your team has the right questions to ask, that there's somebody, if you're not an expert in that field, that get an expert to be asking those questions, because otherwise you will be very disappointed in that hire. The other thing, like I said, that I'm a gut hire. When I hire somebody based on my gut and, their knowledge of their basic skills, I've done really well. When I've gone against that, and I've done that, and I'll say this, like from the software development side, I'm not a software developer myself. I know what I need done. Where I have made mistakes is trusting some agencies to give me the right people. And honestly, the worst mistake I would say is basing off of money.
Yep.
Pay more than you want to. It will, not for the sake of doing it, but don't, for really important roles,
don't go cheap.
Shell out the money. Don't be cheap.
Yeah.
It will bite you in the ass.
Yeah. Pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Yes, you do.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Well, culture, I think that, first of all, giving people the room to grow.
Yeah.
Really, like for me, it's being the difference between just giving them tasks to do and micromanaging those tasks, which is definitely how it started out, because I'm a bit of a control freak. That really giving people ownership over their tasks, allowing them to own their role and have ideas and be part of the process. That is where people get excited, and they start to, without you actually having to give them physical ownership of anything in the company, you are giving them the sense of pride over their role and over everything that passes over their desk. So you get people coming with innovative ideas and making them feel part of the process, you get more out of your people, you can trust them more, and they're happier.
Yep. And tell our audience how you've handled balance.
So balance is that kind of evolving thing. I think that making sure that I realize that I'm worth my time just as much as my business is, and that my business actually does better when I am more fulfilled in every aspect of my life. That if you push too hard in one direction, you're going to be lacking in another. So I make it a point to turn off and unplug completely from all things for certain times, like my weekends are with my kid, and really being fully present. is a big thing for me, and it's not always easy.
No, it's not. I still struggle with that, but much better at it these days than previous years, and it's so important.
Yeah, focus on work when I'm working, and then really be present with the people that I'm with and whatever it is that I'm doing, even if I'm reading a book for my own personal for my own personal needs, like really focusing on that and not checking my phone, not checking in and doing all of that it can wait.
Yes, yeah, it can. And with your coaching, do you find many business owners struggle with balance? Do you work on that much with them?
All the time.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, because what happens is a lot of times they don't know that they know something is off, and they don't necessarily know what it is, because again, we get so sucked into our work and it feels so second nature that they don't know why they don't feel good.
Yep.
So it's a huge part of what we deal with, that because we're always sorting through and fixing a problem in our minds even. So it's always going. So that is something, and that's where we start piecing together, looking at it like, how are you nurturing yourself?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Loving what we do, because it can be all-consuming. So I've got structures in place, like I've got a chocolate Labrador I go bushwalking with regularly to get me away from the computer or meetings. It's something I think I'm going to have to always work on and have things in place.
And it's being intentional about it.
Yeah. What about professional development? Have you invested much over the time in business? So books, podcasts, courses, training, conferences, or events?
Everything.
Yep.
Yeah. I always have a coach. I always have a mentor. I'm constantly in programs. I listen to podcasts regularly, and try to mix it up where it's not all work all the time. Like it can get that way with the podcasts and everything. Like even when I'm not working, I'm in the car, and but no, it is a huge part of how I see my world. And I'll always be enriching that part.
Yeah, that's good. And that's the next question. So you've had mentors or coaches yourself, so you found value from that?
Oh, of course. Yeah, always. You can't see your own blind spots.
Yes. Yeah. What about a board of directors or advisors? Do you have like a board of advisors that you meet with regularly, or?
I don't have a board of advisors. I have mentors, which that's my sounding board to make sure that I'm having that outside influence who can tell me whether I'm, am I missing something?
Yep.
Which is really important.
Yeah, no, it is. All right, one of our final 5 questions, Nicole. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I think in the beginning, it's playing, really wearing so many hats and learning so many new things, especially if it's your first time. At least that's how it was for me. There's such a huge learning curve for all the different roles. You're not working in your own zone of genius. You're doing things that you really shouldn't be doing in the beginning, probably. And rolling that off of you, I think, can be a difficult thing in the beginning.
Yep. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I really loved The Slight Edge. I thought that was a great book to just talk about building good, simple habits and changing yourself day by day. And I also loved The Startup J Curve.
Okay.
Specifically for startups. I thought that was a great book.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
There's so many podcasts. I do a lot of online learning tools with private coaches. Lots of them work with James Wedmore and Kelly Roach. But as far as podcasts, I love Kathy Heller has a great podcast called Quit Your Day Job.
Yep.
Which I think is a great way to kind of get your feet wet over there. Those are the ones that I like.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
A tool. I believe in a CRM.
Yep.
And then automated marketing tools. So anything from Salesforce with their marketing cloud. And if you're a bigger company, that is definitely the way to go if you have the means.
Yep. Great. Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Focus on your vision going forward and manage your energy to align with that and not with the stressful moment that you're in.
Yep. So important. It's great. Well, thanks for your time today, Nicole. I think the audience get a lot of value out of your journey, and thank you for sharing that with us, and look forward to future success.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.